Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. This is a Gottlieb ShipMates that we've been working on. Very cool old EM from the early 60s. You don't see these as much anymore. The later 60s and the 70s machines you see a lot more than these. I don't think that's because there's less of them. I think it's just because people have fixed up a lot of them and they have them in their collection. So we're fixing one up for a gentleman, and we're up to the Playfield. So we've got it limping along playing. It's not playing great. There's a score reel that locks on and stuff like that. But I hate to play it too much whenever the playfield's so dirty. If you play a game with a dirty playfield, what it's going to do is, as the ball rolls across the playfield, it grinds dirt into the paint and it just messes up your paint. So we're going to fix it up, and then we can play it and do the final repairs to get it going. So the cabinet was pretty rough. We repainted it by hand, just kind of traced what was there. Kind of a quickie paint job. Looks a lot better now. This playfield, though, it looks really dirty, but it's actually in very nice shape, in my opinion. Just my opinion. I've been talking with our buddy Mark over in Australia, and him and his wife repaint some of these. They'll get a game in and work on the playfield. And he's been showing me some pictures of kind of like what the typical wear over there looks like on them. And this one is much better. I bet he would agree. So we're not going to have to do as much. So to the untrained eye, you might look at it and go, what are you talking about? It looks horrible. Well, it's because none of the paint's missing hardly. So I'll break it down, and then Joe's going to come in and clean it, and we'll go from there. Okay, so look at this girl up here. None of her needs to be repainted. It's just dirty. It needs to be cleaned. Look at this chick. Also holding up very well. Now keep in mind, this chick's like, she would be in her 80s now, right? This game's about 60 years old. This up here, the ball trail, that cleans right up. That's no big deal. There is a little bit of wear above the pop bumper, which coincidentally is the best possible place for there to be any wear, because you literally cannot see it when you're playing the game. Over here, it's a little more severe. A little more going on here. That's easily repairable. And over here, same, easily repairable. Not quite as bad on that middle one. So you do have a little bit, but that's the type of stuff that you touch up and you can't even tell that it was messed up. The rollovers on the left here look very nice. The rollovers on the right look very nice. I personally don't try to make them look perfect, but this one's going to look pretty freaking good, I think. It's just my opinion. I hope I don't oversell it. We're not going to get new plastics for it because the plastics have held up pretty good too. There is a target missing there. We need to order some parts for that. And then there's the little fan targets that they were famous for. We'll touch that up a little bit. Get rid of that line on it. But again, on the playfield, hardly any wear at all. So you got a little bit right there. It's nothing. That's nothing, folks. That's so minor you could pretty much just draw the black lines back in and most people wouldn't even notice it. This one, a little bit more severe, but nothing crazy. So far we've seen green, yellow, red, and black that we need to repaint. The rest of this all looks very good. This down here, very nice. There's no flipper drag hardly. There's a little bit there, it looks like from antiquity. So we'll see about that. So in my opinion, the thing looks pretty nice. So I'll give you one more overview, and then we'll have Joe come in and scrub on it, and then I'll come back and paint a little bit of it and touch it up. What do you think? So this will be our before shot. Let me line it up here. Looks pretty good to begin with. It's just dingy looking. Let's see what kind of color is hiding underneath all that dirt. Okay, so it did brighten up a lot, actually. Looks a lot better than it did, and we haven't even waxed it, cleared it, or put light bulbs in it yet, but the blue looks a heck of a lot better. Look at the ball trail that we were talking about earlier. Look how much cleaner that looks. Now it's got that nice look to it. I think that came out pretty good. Okay, so we're going to repaint a little bit of it. I'm going to touch up this green, that green, and that green. Now, depending on how long you want to take on your own personal machine, you can take all this stuff off the playfield. I'm not going to. I'm just going to paint around it. It's such a minor little thing, I'm not that worried about it. But if you did do that, you could get a better, you'd be able to make that line back better, because you could lay something there and then trace it. But with the pop bumpers in the way, that's going to be a little harder, but we'll see what we can do. This one's the worst one. All right, so I'm going to mix up a green that looks pretty similar, and then we'll go from there. I just use acrylic paints, and I'm just going to try to match that green as best I can. I've got a whole bunch of greens right out of the bottle that may be very similar. And sometimes the green they use there, although it's the same as there and there, different areas of the playfield will have faded differently. So if you match that green, it may not actually look the same as that green. But we'll see how close I can get it. Okay, so I looked through what I had. I had about 6 different colors. And again, I'm just illustrating it here, but I did it up there. See how that one's a little too dark, and it's also a little too boring. Okay. So then I had this one. This one's a little closer. I mean, it's also too dark, though. Now this one, that one's too bright. So you know what we're supposed to do here. So I took some of this and put it with some of that. That gave me a happy little medium. That is pretty close. Now, I'm aiming... this is going to sound contradictory to what I've said in the past. You want it to dry, if you can't get it dead on, you want it to dry a little bit darker than the paint that you're matching, because it looks like wear then, instead of looking like paint that you added. So if the fresh paint is slightly lighter than the stuff that's original, everybody will see it and go, oh, look, someone painted it. If it's slightly darker than the original paint, your mind just takes it all in as part of the wear of the machine, because there's wear on other parts. So you don't even notice it. It just looks like wear, right? So this looks slightly lighter than the paint on the playfield, but the reason I'm doing that is because the paint dries darker. So it's kind of a little game you have to play. So you mix it where it's just barely too light, and when it dries, it'll probably be just barely too dark. So I painted it in by hand. I didn't do the black ring around it yet. I just painted it back in. Right? Now the black ring is what will finish it off. Usually I do it first, but for whatever reason I just felt like doing the green first. Probably because we've got that that wood grain there. I don't know. For whatever reason, in my mind, I felt like doing the green first. It'll be all right, folks. So yeah, so that's all of the green. Like I said, this thing's in decent freaking shape. So now I got to try to draw in the black. I would like to have a ring to do it with. Even if you had a ring that's too big, you could put a ring around it, and then that would help you gauge, or you could even like hold the pen beside it as you make the mark or whatever. So let me see what I can find. What do you think about a ring of duct tape or something? Now, man, let me see what kind of trouble I can get into here. All right, so I inked it in. Look. The bottom of a Jimmy John's cup is almost the perfect size. I didn't get it perfect. You know, I'm not good with the arches. Now, I've had people tell me that you can use a French curve for this, but that won't work on this machine because this one's in English. But for the French machines, it's probably perfect. I wish the Americans would invent something like that. Like this cup is probably American, but it looks pretty good, I think. Certainly looks a lot better than it did. What do you think? Not perfect, but good for me. So that's the green. Now we still need to clean that up some more. We need to clear coat it, that part of it. But as far as touch up, we really only have this one little area. Red, a little bit of cream, and yellow. Stuff like this, all of that's hidden by the posts, so you don't see any of that. And we're going to have other things, like we have to paint that target and that target. But as far as the Playfield, that's kind of what we're looking at. So I think I will do the ink on this one first, and then we'll add the paint in, because it'll help me see where that 50 needs to be. This is what it looks like after cleaning up the playfield, waxing it. Looks very good. Did we do one of these? I don't remember if we did one of these. I think we might have. Something like that. So I think the playfield has cleaned up. Look how bright it got. It looks a lot better. By bright I mean the blue, like how it just looks a lot cleaner. Okay, so I think I've figured out too our problem with the scoring. So basically, when you score something, it starts going man, making all kinds of noise, and then we figured out that whenever we turn off the game, that the little 0 to 9 unit or whatever in the back moves one position. So it's stuck on, and you're hearing a buzzing noise. So what is the buzzing noise? It's that coil, and it's the 1-point relay or the 10-point relay. And I figured out what's going on, I believe. I deduced it after thinking about it for a while. What is missing from this back box? We are in the middle of a game right now. What's missing? The lights aren't on for the player. So something's going on with the player unit or something where it's not lighting up the correct player. And if it's not lighting up the correct player, then it's also not sending the correct points to the correct player. So when the game scores 10 points, for instance, it's supposed to pull in the 10-point relay. It moves the 10-point reel one position. That opens a switch which kills the 10-point relay. At the same time, the 10-point relay also moves the 0 to or the 10 to 90 unit or whatever it is, or it might be the 1-point unit. 1-point relay moves the 1 to 9 unit. So anyway, it should turn 1 point. What would happen if you scored a point, the relay came in, but it didn't turn the motor, the score reel? Well, then it would never open up the switch on the back of the score reel, and that relay would stay on, going. So we kind of thought that was it, but now that I look at it, that's got to be it. That's why the first player lights aren't lit up. It's not in the right position or something. Let me see if I can turn it. Or if I can even get the right one. Is it this one? No, that's not the one. There we go. So if you were to score with it like that, it would work. So the way I'm getting it to do that is I'm pushing the player unit in, and it's consistently doing it. So let me slide it out. Let's look at the player unit again. Apparently we didn't get that right in the last video. So I believe I see the problem. If I push in, you hear something click, and the lights go on. So what's clicking? It would help if I had light. Luckily I have several fingers. There you go. Relay AA is clicking when I push that in. That's going to be the one that turns on all the score reels, which we were thinking it was something like that on the first one. So what is the problem? So look at all these little rivets. Now of course we went through all this on the previous video. Somehow that thing's bent. I wonder if it was like that on the previous video, or if I did that since then, or what. But that's obviously the problem. Let me see if I can bend that straight, and if it'll fall down in that little well there and work properly. So bend it straight. It's working fine now. So basically the reason that that's like that is so that if the thing turns and it's not true, it can move a little bit, you know. But it was bent in such a way that it wasn't quite touching the board. So with that like that, you have to remember to take your tools with you, you know. The lights are on. Let me go back and look and see if it was like that in the previous video. I did find a video, a little clip that I showed where those lights were off. So if they've never been on, that's been our problem. All right, so the lights are on now. Of course, we need to replace all those light bulbs. Let's see. Of course, we still got buzzing and stuff because we haven't done underneath the Playfield yet. We did the bottom mech board, but we haven't done the bottom of the Playfield yet. Let's see what scores and what doesn't, and what makes numbers lock on and what doesn't. I looked at the videos, and that bent pin, I don't know when I did that. It wasn't like that before. Okay, so this says 10 points or 100 when lit. Let's see if 10 makes it lock on. Why, oh, why would I get 1 point? Our buzzing had something to do with the alternating relay, because now it's jumped over to the other side. Okay, so let's see if I get 11 points every time. I do. That's weird. We need to start writing this down. All right, so Mr. Mingus has brought us some more pads to write on. This is one of our regular customers. The people in the UK really love this guy. He has a nice little printing shop. Okay, so I wrote down, and I'm sure you can read this because I have such legible handwriting. The bottom 10 scores 11, and the alternating relay buzzes. Okay, so let's see if the 100 works. It does. It also does not alternate. Now here's a special one. Does the light come on? It does. That means 1,000 people, in case you didn't know. So that works just fine. Okay, these say 10 points when lit, so that would mean they're 1 point since they're not lit. Ooh. It gives me 11. Perhaps it was lit. And yeah, look, neither one of them's lit. I'll bet it was lit, and now that one's supposed to be lit, and that one's... Right, so if I hit it again, I'll bet it just gives me 1. Nope. It gave me 11. They must be lit, but they're not lit. Slingshots. Slings give 11. Deal with it, people. Don't light up. Here, let me show you something. Left-handed people a lot of times have really sloppy handwriting. Also, geniuses have really well, I'll leave that part up. When you're left-handed and you write, you have no way to hold the paper, especially if you're holding a camera in one hand. So whenever you write, it pushes the paper around. So you get used to not writing worth a damn, right? It happens in school. Now, if I was Japanese, I wouldn't have any problem. Okay, so that's those. They don't light up. We have a 3 here. I don't even know what that does. Okay, let's see about our little targets. So 10 always scores 11. That's what's going on. Let's try 20. Aha! Aha! So let's see what's locked on. This is the noisy one. And it's the 1 point relay. See it? And the 10 point. Damn it. Somehow those are tied together. So that's our problem. The 1 point and the 10 point are tied together. Every time the 10 point hits, the 1 point hits too. 10's always scoring 11. So that's going to be our issue. All right, so I'm looking at the schematics. These are the original schematics that came with the machine. We taped them back together. They're kind of worn. If you need a set of Gottlieb schematics or schematics for any pinball machine, go to the Pinball Resource, pbresource.com, Pinball Resource. They make nice, beautiful copies of them, full size, that you can lay out and see it in all of its glory, right? This is the 10 point relay, the M. And then N up here is the 1 point relay. So we kind of need to see where this line intersects with this line. Why would the 10 point and the 1 point come on together all the time? Right? So I think what was going on with the slingshots, how they weren't lit up, but if I hit this one I got 11, and then once it switched I hit it again I got 11 again. I think it's set up so that if you get 1 point, you get 11, or if you get 10 points, you get 11, because the 1 and the 10 are joined together. And that could be what's causing our problem with it locking on, because it tries to release the 10 point relay. But since the 1 point relay hasn't been released, the 10 point relay stays in, or something. I don't know. It's like a timing thing, probably. So that's an obvious problem. The N and the M are both coming on at the same time. Now, why would that be? Well, there's some places where it alternates between the two. So for instance, this X relay. If that X relay just happened to be smashed together, where all of these were touching, well then that's a make or break switch. So it's going to be a long switch with two short switches, one on each side, and it'll go back and forth. Right? If they just happen to be like this, then it would do that. Okay, so X does that. A does that, which is the alternating relay. That sounds like it's buzzing. And then also two more places that A does it, and then J does it. J has the 1-point relay right here, and then there's a jumper that's probably on the J relay, and if that switch breaks here and makes there, it's now connected to the 10-point relay. So if that switch just happens to be smashed together, we would get the problem that we've got right now. So I'm going to look at the J relay, the A relay, and the X relay. So as I said, the next part of the video we need to do underneath the playfield, okay? But just for a little preview of what is to come. Now we just looked on the schematics. I'm going to show you the importance of schematics. This is also if you step on the power cord and kick the plug out, that messes you up too. This is the A relay, alternating relay. This is the A1 relay. Now the way Gottlieb did that was, that basically means it's the alternating relay with more switches, so there's two relays that are the same thing. There's the X relay, and remember I was saying the J relay. So down here at the bottom is the J relay. Where does it say it? Bam! J relay. Now they are calling that the pop control relay. Now if you look, remember we're looking for a make or break switch that might all be jammed together. So look at this. It's going to be hard for you folks to tell. If you're a pinball person, you might be able to understand. There we go. That works a little better with the light. Can we go through that wire with the camera? Okay, so that left switch, I can see it clearly with my eyes, but you probably can't see it. That left switch is fine, but get those out of the way. Well, what is this that we have here? Oh, it's almost exactly like I called it. It's a make or break switch with all three of the switches jammed together on one of the relays, either the A, the J, or the X relay. It's on the J relay. Huh, almost like I've seen that before. Okay, so that's obviously our problem. So I'm going to separate that out, and then we'll just make sure that fixed that problem, and then in the next video we'll do a bunch of the other problems. There are still plenty left. So this switch is all jammed together. This side, this pin, and this side are all connected. So this wire connects straight to the 10-point relay. So anytime power gets to anything that holds on the 10-point relay, the power will come up through here, right? Connect through the shorted switch, connect to here, and then energize the N relay as well. So if you score 1 point, you'll have power here, which will short through the shorted switch and make the M relay come on. So that's the problem. So whenever they pull in, it's given 1 point up here and it's given 10 points down here. But it's giving you trouble where basically the timing's all off. If it's got to open that switch on the score reel to turn off the M relay, but it's going to have a problem with that since the N relay is trying to do the same thing at the same time, and that's probably why we're getting stuff locked on. So that's a good example of a problem that causes other problems. So sometimes you'll have 10 different things all linked together, and it's one little freaking switch, right? So obviously there will be other issues, but let's make sure that separating that out fixes that one. All right, so let's test it again. 10 points. Hey, that's only 10, that's not 11. All right, so let's check this side that's 100 points. Notice it's not bouncing back and forth either, because the 1 point does that. Now, for those of you that want to know what happens after you go over 2,000 points, I'm going to show you. So right now you have 1,901 points. And then you get another 100 points. And now you have 1,001 points. Okay, so I think that fixed it. Where is our 1 point? Oh, the 1 point would be the slingshots. Yeah, the alternating relay hums a little bit. So that fixed our problem. I've noticed that in the past. Anytime that you have score reels that are hanging and stuff and locking on, usually it's a problem on the playfield. Now this was actually a relay hanging under the playfield, but it was basically a playfield score problem. And then also notice how the lights not being on helped us figure out that part of the problem too. So a lot of times when you have a problem, you want to look at light bulbs, because that'll help you find it on the schematics. And that 1 and 10 point thing at the same time, I don't see that often, but a lot of times light bulbs help you track down where there's an issue. Because you can look on the schematics and see, okay, what makes this light light up? And then that will show you what must be screwed up. So there you go, folks. I think the playfield turned out pretty nice. Still got a little work to do on it. And we certainly have a lot of work left still on getting it to play right. But I think we finally solved, or at least pretty much solved, our problem with the scores locking on and all of that. So on the next one, we're going to work underneath the playfield, and we're going to work on the roto target. So that's coming up. We got to get all the light bulbs working right and all of that too. So I hope you enjoyed it so far. Make sure to leave your comments down below. And also make sure to check out my brother Donnie. If you don't know about him, my brother has a channel. There's a link down below. The channel's called My Brother Donnie. We work on pinball machines, arcade games, and jukeboxes. My brother Donnie works on old vehicles, old buildings, things like that. I'm over there with him a lot, and a good time is had by all. So I'll see you over there on his channel, but we'll see you back here in a couple days with probably the conclusion of this ShipMates series. Hope you've enjoyed it so far.